So now I have to sit here and get questioned by a supervisor asking if I'm going to be compliant on this plane. I might as well just be non-compliant, right?
Welcome back to my channel. I am Selena, and today we are talking about an entitled influencer. You see the title, so of course I'm going to let y'all know how I feel at the end, but I really encourage for you to let me know how you feel. Are they entitled or not? Let's get into it. Sierra Dallas, she is a popular influencer on TikTok. She does have a brother named Cameron Dallas. I had no idea who these people were until I saw this whole situation on my For You page. But if you've heard of them, let me know in the comment section down below. She does a lot of lifestyle content and family content. This is what I'm drinking: fresh water out of the tap, because we cannot afford to drink those Kirkland sparkling waters every single day. I know. I don't know if you can see those ice cubes. Yes, they're from my ice maker. They look like little calamari, but they're little bullets. So I also have coffee because I'm grown. But if you don't like coffee, I get it too. So we're going to get into what happened and how she got on the no-fly list. We'll dive into some of the backlash. Mostly it's backlash. Okay. And then we'll dive into my opinion. Y'all let me know. You guys have told me that you like the videos without interruption, so I'm just gonna play her story without interruption, but I will keep a timestamp if you just want me to do a quick little recap. I have seen some people say they don't like her voice because of her vocal fry. Listen, I can't judge anyone off of people's voices. Even if you don't like my voice, I get it. There's always someone on a platform where we don't necessarily like their voice, or it's just not their style, so I get it. But if you're one of those with this influencer, this is the next timestamp to go if you want me to just do the quick little recap, because I will, because I want to dissect what she said. And I even made a little diagram for you all so we can understand exactly the visual of where she, her kids, her husband, etc. were sitting on that plane, okay? First things first, she had a video that went viral. You know that trend that's like, that was rude. That was pretty rude. She did that sound with a video of her saying she got on the no-fly list by Hawaiian Airlines.
That was rude.
She responds to a comment that says, "OMG, no-fly list is so scary, like how are you supposed to ever travel again? So sorry this happened, especially over something that's not even a big deal." Check out her response and breakdown of what happened. Side note, this whole situation happened 2 years ago, which she put in a comment. Just to give you context, this whole situation with the plane and the no-fly list happened 2 years ago. Keep that in mind as she tells the story.
All right, here's the story on how I apparently got banned and on the no-fly list with Hawaiian Airlines. All right, so before I start, it's a little exhausting and very inconsistent on Hawaiian Airlines' part, in my opinion. But here's Callum, he's one, and here's Troy. This is the day that we were banned from Hawaiian Airlines. So basically on the way from LAX to Kauai, we had no issues. Not a single issue. Like, it was a perfect flight. We had a great time in Kauai, and on the way back, the night before leaving to go from Kauai back to LAX, I noticed my boys were like pulling on their ears, like they were getting an ear infection, probably from water play, which is like really common. And I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like, I could totally tell, like, you could see me here. Like, I'm looking a little tired, just glossy eyes. Everyone's been in the sun. It was a long, great trip. Love Kauai, one of my very favorite places. They both wanted mommy. Like, I think kids just always want mommy, right? Now getting into the nitty gritty. So there were 8 adults and 3 kids. We had booked a seat for my daughter because she was 3 years old. He's 1 and he's 8 months. So basically we have booked a seat for one of our kids and brought the car seat on, and that was just more of a hassle. So we were like, you know what, let's just do infants. They could sit on our lap because there's 8 adults and my kids usually have no problem going with anyone. This one is breastfeeding. This one is 1 year old and not breastfeeding. So for the first half of the flight on the way back home, Troy was sitting on my godmom, who was in the row right adjacent from us, like right behind across. and she was sitting in the aisle. They were holding him no problem, but he had woken up and he was crying, and he was hungry. And I was holding Callum. Callum kept pulling on his ears and just like crying and saying like his ears hurt. We were already assuming he was getting an ear infection, and then go on a plane after that is like just horrible, right? It hurts so bad. So my godmom hands over Troy, and I start breastfeeding him. I'm in the aisle seat and Callum is on my lap. I'm holding both, which apparently I'm not allowed to do. And I'm like, okay, well, all I need to do is feed my baby for like 20-ish minutes. Like, just give me 20 minutes. So the flight attendant comes up and he's like, you have 5 people in a row and there's only 4 masks. And I was like, okay, like, can I just feed my baby real quick? Like, I'm trying to pass this one off. He doesn't want to go anyone. He's like screaming and crying because he just wants mommy. He's not feeling 100%. And I'm just trying to keep the peace on the plane, right? Like, people are watching movies. People are reading books. People are trying to nap. So please, like, just give me 20 minutes. I'm already stressed out. I have 2 crying babies. Like, please. The flight attendant wasn't having it. He was like harassing me, just kept staring at me. And I'm like, bro, I'm just trying to feed my baby. Like, literally give me 20 minutes. Just like turn around. So I'm non-compliant. And like I said, on the way there, we did not know any of this. No issues. No flight attendant came up to us. Honestly, they probably have kids. So they probably were like, she's passing that baby around this airplane, like, let her feed the baby and be done with it, you know? I'll have to go through my diary and go through, like, what the name of the flight attendant was that was just, like, literally harassing me. So, like I said earlier, I was in the aisle while he was like, you can't have 5 people. So now I'm trying to pry Callum off of me, give him to someone else that's part of our party, and he's just screaming, just like, I want mommy. I felt like I was like having to give up my child or something. Like, that's what the screams felt like. And I'm breastfeeding him. My other daughter, she's 3 years old. She had her own seat. She was like in the window seat. So I'm no longer in the aisle. I'm in the middle, and my husband's sitting on the aisle now because you can't have 5 people in a seat. So he was making sure Callum wasn't trying to climb over because Callum was trying to get to mommy in the middle seat. Well, now Callum can't be in the aisle, and I couldn't go to the bathroom because I had 2 infants with me, and that was not allowed either. So I was like, really, like, what am I supposed to do in this position? And I'm not feeling like I'm entitled or everyone should give me empathy or sympathy, but like, it's called customer service. Like, I've worked in customer service, like, all my life before doing social media, and I've done tons of training. I also have a degree in communications. Like, let's get customer service down, right? So I like the llama approach: listen, acknowledge, make a statement, ask a question. No manager came up to me and was like, ma'am, we did already tell you that you can't have 5 in a seat or in a row. There's only 4 masks. No one came up to me like that. It was all sass. And I felt like this guy like literally waited his entire life to come up to someone and be like, you can't have 5 people in a seat. No. So I would have preferred like someone, and it would have been way more receptive. Like, ma'am, can we help you? Can we move you somewhere? Is there somewhere like that we can make you feel comfortable? Like, nothing. No one came up to me. And that's why I was even more upset. So anyways, like, apparently on the 4th time, I'm telling you, the guy was staring at me. It was like in the entire time, he just walked over and threw a little piece of paper. It was like this big, threw a piece of paper with a highlighted something, and then threw it at my husband. And my husband literally like did not look at it. He just crinkled it up and was like, this is some BS. So I open it. And I'm not even joking. So I open it, it's like $10,000 fine highlighted. So I'm like, this is so upsetting. Like, I'm just trying to feed my child and give him back to my godmom who's sitting adjacent from us. Like, I'm not confrontational. I'm not yelling. No one has their cell phones out. No one's making a big scene. If anything, other people around us are like, I can't believe the way that they're treating you. Like, that's actually pretty crazy. Like, it was wild. I felt like this guy had it out for me, and I don't even know what I did to him. So I asked for a manager, and apparently they don't have like a managerial position on the flight, but they have a higher up flight attendant. And I was like, okay, I don't care. Just like, is there any way that I could talk to someone? So she's working first class, so I had to wait for her. And I was like, okay, well, I have 2 hours left on this flight. Like, I'm happy to wait, no problemo. So finally, when she was ready to talk, we went to the back of the airplane, and I just start bawling. Mind you, I'm 8 months postpartum. I'm breastfeeding. My hormones are all over. I have 2 crying babies. I'm just trying to feed this one and hand him back to someone. That was it. This one's making like just crying and crying because his ears hurt. They're both not feeling 100%. So I just asked her, I was like, do you have kids? She didn't. Does the other guy have kids? No. So I was like, you know what? As a mom of 3 who had 3 kids in 3 years, or just a mom in general, like no empathy, no sympathy. No one asked me to help, like if I needed help or if there was anything they could do to help me. It was just like attack, attack, attack. And that's why I was more so upset. And I wasn't even yelling at her. I was just like, part of customer service is just like offering help. And there was none of that. It was not even informational. It was like, you can't have 5 people in the seat. I'm like, I really didn't even know that to begin with. And we had no issues on the flight there. So like, why is it an issue now? Honestly. And when he told me, you don't care about the safety of your kids. And I was like, that's what was the tip of the iceberg. You don't care about the safety of your kids. I don't care about the safety of my kids, bro. Like, come on. And that was it. Apparently I'm wild. And I'm on the no-fly list. And I actually like Hawaiian Airlines. It's just the staff, I feel like they're not very like helpful or not very nice. So I went to check in for my flight this last week, and that's when we found out at 6 a.m. that we were on the no-fly list, and they had to come up to us and make sure that we weren't going to cause a scene.
Quick recap before we get into the responses that Sierra Dallas made. In that video, she says that she is flying with 8 total adults in her party. Great. Awesome. She also has her husband. She has her 3-year-old daughter. She has her 1-year-old son, Callum. And then she also has her 8-month-old baby, Troy. So she is 8 months postpartum. Something to keep in mind. We've talked about this before. When you're postpartum, you have a lot of things going on in your body. You're still recovering. And then you're also having your hormones trying to get balanced again. I'm not a mom, so you guys know what I'm about to say next. If you are a parent, if you are a mom, please let me know your take on this, because there is a lot to debate about this whole situation, and I don't want to overstep. I am going to share my opinion, but y'all know we keep it cute over here. So what she does is she books the tickets through Hawaiian Airlines. So she's going from LA to Kauai. She has 2 lap child seats and 1 seat she bought for her daughter. Let me whip my diagram out, okay? Hopefully you guys can follow with me, because I am a visual person. I really like to have a visual, and it really helped me understand the story, because I did not want to replay that TikTok 5 times to understand where everything is. So she is in an aisle seat with her 1-year-old, okay? Dang, I'm already forgetting their names. I'm just gonna say 1-year-old and 8-month-old right now, because sorry, I can't. She's in the aisle seat with her 1-year-old. Her 1-year-old is in her lap, right? Keep in mind, they have an ear infection, and so she knew that before they went on the flight. When you are flying, especially if you're a baby, especially if you're a toddler, your ear pressure is going to be way different than an adult. That's why babies cry on planes. So it's just a lot. Knowing that you have an ear infection and you're going on a flight, that's not a good mix. The 1-year-old wakes up, he starts crying. He also doesn't feel good with his ear infection. But then the godmother, who is a row behind her, but adjacent, so like parallel. She kept saying adjacent, but I think it's parallel. Either way, the baby needs to be fed, and she's breastfeeding the baby, or the 8-month-old. She retrieves the 8-month-old and she starts breastfeeding, so she has an 8-month-old and a 1-year-old on her lap. Emotions are heightened because her 1-year-old's screaming, I want mommy, I want mommy. So that's when the flight attendant came up to her and was like, hey lady, you can't have 5 people in 1 row, because there were 4 seats. And if you think about it, one seat cannot have 3 people, right? You have the lap child and the parent, but you can't really have one parent with 2 people on your lap. But she didn't like that flight attendant's attitude. She's feeling like, hey, I don't know what to do. I have these screaming babies. I just need to feed my child. This will only take 20 minutes. I've done this before on the flight to Kauai. I don't know what else to do. So she kind of says that both of her children want mommy, and she also wants to keep the peace because people on the plane, they're reading, they're just trying to get through the flight as well. And she knows that her kid is crying and being loud, she says. She said something about not being able to go to the bathroom and also that her 1-year-old can't stay in the aisle. So then she ends up going into the middle seat. Then her 1-year-old is crying because he wants to go back to his mom, but she needs to breastfeed her baby for at least 20 minutes. So she's basically like, hey, this is 20 minutes. Let's just get this done so I can feed my 1-month-old and everyone's happy. My 1-year-old can still be with mommy. She says the flight attendant keeps staring at her because he's like, we can't have this going on. Keep in mind too, there's only 1 extra oxygen mask per row. Really, that's another violation because in the event something happens with the plane and we need to start putting on our oxygen masks, those 2 children that she has, those 2 boys, not the daughter because the daughter has her own seat, but those 2 boys do not have an oxygen mask if they are on her lap and in the same row. I didn't know that before a lot of people were responding, and then I looked it up online. Apparently across the board, all airlines do that. She gets upset because she's like, hey, I've worked in customer service before. I have a degree in communications. This is not customer service. They didn't offer for me to move somewhere. They didn't say, how can I help you get this figured out right now? They just basically said, man, we can't do that. Eventually, the flight attendant comes back and throws a piece of paper to Sierra's husband, and he didn't even read it, but then she read it, and it's a $10,000 fine. I don't know. She never mentioned if she paid it or not, but I assume she did. Eventually, she asked to speak to a manager. Are there managers on airplanes? I don't think there are. So yes, there were no managers on this flight, and that's not really common anyways. They had a lead flight attendant who she talked to, and she started bawling, and she said she was cordial to the lady, but she was like, this is not good customer service, blah, blah, blah. And then she's also like, ma'am, do you have kids? Lead flight attendant said no. And then she asked if the other flight attendant who she talked to before has kids, and then she said no, he does not have kids, and she's like, oh. So she's really asking for more empathy, but she got upset because I guess she was told you don't care about the safety of your kids. Knowing that, from what I know, from what my dad has said, from what I've heard from parents that I know in real life, if you judge someone's parenting, that's like the worst thing, the worst insult that you can do. And of course, the whole mama bear thing, the claws are going to come out. I think that really made her upset, which I understand. Not that I'm a parent, but I can understand, don't judge, the way I do things. You don't know me type of thing. So they book another flight with Hawaiian Airlines. They went to go to the airport to check in. That's how she finds out she's on the no-fly list. That's basically the story there. I'm definitely going to give her some grace, but I'm also going to address some concerns. So number 1, she's a mom. She's a mom of 3. Traveling with kids, I can't imagine that being easy. She even mentioned bringing a car seat. She mentioned booking flights. I'm sure it's not cheap. A lot of people just do the lap child situation because they don't have to pay for an extra seat. It's not great knowing that people are going to be afraid of you having these babies on a plane, and they're like, oh gosh, I don't want to hear a crying baby on the plane. Like, I get that. You hear that all the time. Even my nephew, who at the time was 17, he even said that. He was like, I don't think babies should fly on planes. Anywhere, any age group, I feel like I've heard, personally in my opinion, say, oh gosh, I hope there's not a crying baby on the plane. Or when you go on a flight, someone asks you, were there any babies on the flight? Come on. It's fine. In my opinion, it's not the baby's fault. Definitely want to give her some grace there. She's also 8 months postpartum. Having 3 under 3, I can't imagine that's easy. And I'm sure after her lavish vacation, she's probably just really tired. She knows her baby has an ear infection. She's like, oh, there's so much going on. And being a mom doesn't stop. You're always multitasking. I'm sure that's what she was thinking when she was like, okay, let me just feed my child real quick and let me soothe my other one. He has an ear infection. They both want mommy. Now, The other points. Number one, a lot of people were saying, really, it's just the attitude you had that we don't believe your story, especially knowing that it happened 2 years ago. And we only knew that this happened 2 years ago when she was responding to comments, but she is really responding to so many comments. It's like she's really still upset and pressed about the situation. And so it's really just the attitude about it. It's feeling like she's not mature about the situation. And then also too, the customer service thing, flight attendants, they work really hard. And if you've been on a flight, I guarantee you someone is being rude to the flight attendant every single time. I've had to fly a lot within the past couple of years because of funerals, so it's not really fun, but every single time I went, people were being so rude, and not just to the flight attendants, but to each other. And can you imagine working in that situation? I know some people will probably be like, oh, that's fine, they get miles, they still get benefits. You never want to just discount someone's experience or their job. So that's why I give Sierra some grace when I'm like, hey, she's a mom, but I also want to give grace for flight attendants too. They go through a lot. Even when they bring the cart down, they have to tell people, please stop blocking the aisles. A lot of people ask for more than one snack. A lot of people, when it's time for the trash to go into the bag, they just like throw it to them, or they're doing their little checks and people just put their trash in the air. It's just weird the way that people have these weird entitlements to flight attendants that I've noticed. In my opinion, what do you think? Especially when you land and you have to keep your seatbelt on. A lot of the flight attendants are like, hey, please put your seatbelt on, and no one cares. So, I mean, I get it, but at the end of the day, people are just trying to do their jobs. It's not their fault. With that said, the flight attendants' number one priority is safety, is it not? They do extensive training. I mean, if you're a flight attendant, let me know, but I'm pretty sure y'all do extensive training. You have to be prepared for emergencies, the safety of the passengers. You're really the communication between the pilots and the passengers, and you're overseeing a lot of things. When it comes down to that, even if this flight attendant had an attitude, safety is their number one priority. Something to think about: if safety is their priority, and if they're telling Sierra, you cannot have 2 kids on your lap, it's a safety issue. I think she was more so upset by his attitude and the fact that she got told no. I just want to say this lady is so lucky too. She had a whole village with her on the flight. She had 8 adults to help her. Now, I'm not saying if I was in that situation, I would have known what to do, even with the heightened emotions. But do you know how lucky you are to have a village in general? She's lucky that she has a husband. She's lucky that she had her godmother there and whatever other 5 adults that they had there, because she said 8 adults were in her party. Part of me wonders, was there an option? The husband seemed like he was in the other aisle right there. Despite the child crying, can the husband take the crying child so you can just feed your baby? I mean, you said it was 20 minutes. Yes, your child wants mommy. Yes, it's going to be an inconvenience for the rest of the plane if your child is screaming, right? But the priority is to feed your 8-month-old, and you said it's just 20 minutes. Even though it may not be pleasant to everyone's ears, at the end of the day, no one wants a child to starve, okay? Another thing, someone else said in the comments, you would not want your child to be in danger at any time, because in a split second, that plane could drop. They might need that extra oxygen mask, but they're not in the correct row for it. Yes, it could sound over the top, but as a parent, those are things you have to think about. And so the fact that she was like, okay, whatever, it's fine, that's where people had concerns. Her saying, no one came up to me, no one did this, did that. It's like, ma'am, are you expecting for a random available seat to appear so you can breastfeed your baby? You can breastfeed your baby, just hand your baby to your husband or the godparent, or just let the crying baby cry it out at that point. I think the frustrating thing was that she had options. It's not like she was a single mom or traveling by herself with 3 kids. She had a village there, and I don't know if she was expecting the flight attendant to hold her baby for a sec, or her 1-year-old. I've seen videos like that. It's really cute. What she was expecting, it seemed like she was expecting an extra room or space for her to do her business, which it's available to do, but not having the other child at the same time on your lap. Harassing is a strong word. I don't know. We weren't there. I wasn't there, but saying he was harassing her, I don't know, if you're breaking the rules and breaking the law that would cause a $10,000 fine, I can imagine they're going to be stern about it and say, ma'am, you cannot do that, that's not safe. Even though it may not be the best attitude that came from that flight attendant, they were still trying to make sure your children are safe at the end of the day. I have to wonder too, was the seatbelt sign on? Because she kept saying that her 1-year-old couldn't be standing in the aisle, so I wasn't sure about that. Also too, if you have the money to go to Kauai and this is not your first time going there, I don't see why you couldn't have bought the 1-year-old a seat. I was just curious about that. You know, there's two different types of rich people in my opinion. One, they try to buy the generic all the time, or they try to spend the least amount, or they're going to enjoy things. And so I have to wonder, like, when you're a parent, sometimes do you just bite the bullet and do the more expensive option because you know there's less risks that come with it? Because I do know you have to think about all the options that come with it, but I don't know. Another thing, I'm curious about the ear infection thing, and parents, I want you to let me know. Knowing that your child has an ear infection and they're going on a flight the next day, what are some protocols that we do with that? Yes, they probably didn't have time, I guess, to go to urgent care, but Motrin or, I don't know, some sort of children's medicine to ease the pain? Maybe they didn't have access to antibiotics or things like that. I would imagine there would be some sort of late night pharmacy that they could go to wherever they were staying before they were boarding their flight, or potentially at the airport they could have bought something, because I also think that could have reduced some of the heightened emotions in that flight. Let's dive into some of her responses, because one video she says, these are 3 reasons why I posted that video, and the comment she is responding to says, as someone who works in customer service, I get they have rules and regulations. I 100% get where he is coming from, but no empathy or connect to your situation is so alarming. Makes you wonder why.
So some of the reasons why I started posting this, first, it's a trend, and I thought it was actually kind of funny. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I have as much as 1 speeding ticket, and that was when I was 16. I'm 35 now. And I'm on the no-fly list for Hawaiian Airlines. I don't know. It sounds a little bizarre to me. Secondly, if anyone's traveling with 2 infants, like, I had no idea this was even a rule. So I thought it would be a little informative to post it and let people know what it's actually like traveling with 2 kids that are under 2 and that you wanted to not buy a seat. Had I known this, I would have just bought them a seat. I didn't buy them a seat because we've already done that and it didn't really seem to alleviate any like issues. But now that I have 2 infants, or had 2 infants at that time, it would have probably worked out in my favor. And this is everything. Honestly, like, next time just tell me I'm on the no-fly list. It's not a big deal, whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of funny that I'm on like the no-fly list, right?
And now she's saying, next time just tell me I'm on the no-fly list, it's whatever. That wasn't the same energy you had in the previous video. Honestly, I did not know that in general, you don't get a formal notification or letter that you're on the no-fly list. Let me know if you know more information about that, but I was looking it up and apparently it's not really told to you unless you actually try to book and then check in at the airport and then they turn you away. That sounds so messy to me. We gotta respect the airlines and the rules and regulations, because if you violate anything, you're violating the law. She also responds to a comment that says, I really think they were doing their job and you didn't comply. I get your side of it, but ultimately you are in the wrong. Just let one of them cry or switch off. It is what it is.
3 things. Number 1, I totally understand he was doing his job. Love that for him. I'm not mad about him doing his job. I was mad about the attitude and the sass. And I was mad about the comment that he said, I don't care about the safety of my children. Like, don't ever say that to a mother, because typically the mom's gonna get upset, okay? And I was actually cool, calm, and collected. Thank you. Number 2, I take full responsibility. I did what was best for my kids. I did what was best for me in that situation. I had an 8-month-old right here trying to breastfeed. He woke up mid-flight. They passed him to me. I was breastfeeding him. I also had my 1-year-old that had an ear infection and both are crying. I'm trying to figure this out. I asked for 20 minutes, couldn't get 20 minutes. So at that point, if you're just going to harass me and you're going to throw a piece of paper at us, then I might as well just be non-compliant, right? And third, if Hawaiian Airlines had sent me something in the mail saying I was on their no-fly list, blacklisted, like, I would have not booked 8 tickets like 6 months ago, probably even before that. I would have just booked with someone else. Like, I planned this trip a long time ago. I like Hawaiian Airlines. Some of their staff is really nice and some of them aren't. You know, it's just like any other airline, honestly. Now, if I known I was on the no-fly list, yeah, I just wouldn't have booked. And this time around, because I didn't know, we went to go check in at 6 in the morning, and it took them 45 minutes to even get a supervisor near us. And then they come and they're like, so there was a situation 2 years ago with an extra infant on your lap. And I'm like, yeah, bro, I already know this. Like, this is the holdup. If you emailed me, if you sent me something in the mail, then I would have just never booked with you. So now I have to sit here and get questioned by a supervisor asking if I'm going to be compliant on this plane. And on the way home, we had to go through the same thing. And they gave us, it's like they waited to the last second. And then we had to rush through TSA, rush to the gate to barely even make the flight, which is crazy. It was kind of rude, and I take full responsibility, but like, just let me know next time, because there's a bunch of flights. And like I said, I'm not mad at Hawaiian Airlines. Like, I don't hate their flights. No, I like it. They're very flexible. They're good prices. They have great times that work for me and my schedule. It's the staff. It's the way that they handled things that is upsetting. I'm not saying anything about like, oh, regulations and everything. I understand that. So I understand why you put me on the no-fly list. Next time, let a girl know so I don't try to fly with y'all again. Like, you gladly accepted my credit card for 8 tickets.
I highly doubt that a piece of paper was thrown at her, but I don't know. I wasn't there. But she's using strong words like harass and throw a piece of paper at me, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that she says, okay, if you're going to harass me and throw a piece of paper at me, I might as well be non-compliant. See, that's just... I feel like that's digging the hole deeper and also justifying your own actions. But I feel like there's a lot of holes in her response. I think she was just upset. I think she's upset that she's on the no-fly list and the situation that happened 2 years ago. And since she was trying to book flights for this year, she's just now finding out she was on the no-fly list. I mean, that does suck. If you are purchasing tickets 6 months in advance and then you check in physically, find out you're on the no-fly list, that does suck. I'm not gonna lie. If you've worked in customer service, retail, food service, you know, like when people say, I worked in this or I had a degree in this, like you already know it's not going to be a good conversation. I think it's entitled because she's saying no one came up to me. No one came up to me and said, hey, again, you cannot have 2 children in your lap. Because she was already warned once. People are saying just because you have kids doesn't mean that's everyone else's problem, which I see that, and I also see the responses that come to that. But it's the fact that she knew that her child had an ear infection. And then also too, she's saying it's just 20 minutes for me to breastfeed my kid. My other kid wants me too, so I need to soothe both of them. They both want mommy. What's in the best interest for the child right now? What's in the best interest for both of your children right now? One is 8 months old. They need to be fed. That's number one. That's the number one priority. Number 2, you have a village to help you. And the fact that you're able to get on a plane too. She also posts her ticket and it does seem like it's justifying what people are saying. Hey lady, you did not book correctly. She's responding to a comment that says, first of all, it's a Federal Aviation Administration regulation, not just Hawaiian Airlines. Only 1 lap child per seat grouping allowed is because there is only 1 extra oxygen mask. So in the event of an emergency, which lap child would you pick? Dang, that's bad.
So many comments about saying it's FAA regulation. I completely understand. I am not arguing that. I just want to show you this is a system failure in either Hawaiian or all airlines, okay? So watch this. 25A, this is my seat, added infant right there. 25B right here, added infant seat. I also have 25C right here, not added infant seat. That's a huge glitch in the system. If you can only have 1 lap seat in a row, it should not have let me book a whole row. Had I known, I'm not a frequent flyer. I've only flown one other time with my daughter, and we bought a seat for her and brought her car seat, and that was harder than a lap seat, let me tell you. So I was like, let's do lap seats. Had I known I couldn't have 2 infants in 1 row, I would have continued to book on the other side because I also had 25G. Here's 25G, no infant seat, and this was my mom's seat. So in my mind, I was like, okay, if we have the whole row, that's amazing because my 1-year-old and my 3-year-old, we don't do iPad time. We get to bring the iPad, so they're going to be super stoked on the plane. So I was like, oh, like they're 2 small little humans. They're 2 little booties can count for one on like one seat. We fit like super cozy, all 5 of us. I understand the whole mask situation. I did not know that. So had I known that we had to have like an extra seat for an extra mask or whatever, I would have bought another seat next to my mom on 25G. That, honestly. So I don't know. Flying in general is super stressful. I thought it would be, you know, like informative for people who are flying with infants, to know this and to be aware of it. Like I said, I'm not a frequent flyer. I guess everyone thinks that I'm a frequent flyer and I should know all the FAA regulations. And I wasn't saying that he wasn't doing his job. It was more of like the approach. And like, if I could have bought an extra seat on right before like getting on the plane and knowing this information, I totally would have. But like, we're literally flying in less than an hour, and now it's like, oh, we have to change the seats and yada, yada, yada.
So she's showing the ticket and she says, I booked this a long time ago. And she says there was a system failure or whatever. Someone says, it's not a system failure. You failed to comply when the flight attendant told you. You could have just listened and passed your older child to the other person you're traveling with. Stop trying to justify because everyone on here is commenting what is true. My coworker was just doing his job. It was yours to listen back. Oh, she knows the coworker. See? System failure or not, the flight attendant told you what the rule was. Even if he was kind about it, it sounded like you wanted special treatment because your kid was crying. We all do, but rules are rules. It is what it is, just comply and move on. Your top purple box is LAX to LIH. The bottom box is LIH to LAX. You have to call to add the infants, and they wouldn't have let you put 2 lap kids right next to each other. Nice try. A-hole. I have both there and back. Same row. Ooh, someone responded to that and said 25A and 25C is Laihu to LAX and 25B is LAX to Laihu. Your second lap child was not switched right before boarding. He was probably attached to your godmom the 1 row behind when adding him to the reservation. Yes, because remember in her video explaining the story, she said that her godmom had the 8-month-old. That is true.
So for the first half of the flight on the way back home, Troy was sitting on my godmom, who was in the row right adjacent from us, like right behind across.
People are really reading this lady. Someone said, what if another family happened to have a lap infant on opposite side of plane, like similar groups? Wondering for real. She says, I clearly thought leading up we were going to be in 1 row according to my book tickets and packed everything accordingly. I mean, that's fair. If you don't know, you don't know, which I get. But if you don't get your way, that's when it's not okay to go on a whole platform and complain and act like it's mostly Hawaiian Airlines staff's fault just because you didn't like an attitude and just because you got told you don't care about the safety of your child. He is calling you out because of the oxygen mask and the safety situation. Yes, that sucks to hear and that's not good to hear, but low-key, is it true? Because you don't care about your babies having an oxygen mask. That's you basically not caring about the safety of your children. I'm not saying you do. You said it with your actions. Here are some more comments about the situation. Someone quotes, entitled influencer mom finds out rules apply to her. A tale as old as time. Sierra says, entitled? No, I was a mom tending to my babies. That was my focus and I didn't really have much time to situate my family. I knew I wasn't compliant, never denied it. And yeah, maybe that's true because in the moment, you don't always have a clear state of mind, especially if your baby's screaming. I get it. At some point, you can't always just prioritize, oh, my babies want their mom. I have to do it all, which if you're one of 8 adults on that plane, you don't have to do it all. You're not the only adult with your children. And again, I know I keep saying it, but like, you don't know how lucky you are even just to have that. Then on top of that, you travel frequently. This is a place you've traveled to before. You can afford to buy all these things. You could have bought an extra seat for your other child. You could afford that. Someone said, no, he can't just turn around. I have babies and he was doing his job. This is not a rule that they made up. This is a federal aviation regulation. You don't get an extra 20 minutes. You have to follow this rule. Sierra says, LOL, so tell me I'm on the no-fly list then. But that's true. You wouldn't put your baby on your lap in a moving car, even if you're just going down the street, right? So when you make that comparison, oh, it's just down the street. Well, oh, it's just 20 minutes. Well, the plane could crash in 20 minutes. You never know if today is the last time you're going to see or speak to someone that you love dearly. And again, as a parent, those are things you have to think about. Emergencies, safety, are my kids nourished? etc. Admitting the flight attendants did communicate the issue, admitting you were non-compliant, admitting your husband was too lazy to step up and help, and admitting you put your convenience over your child's safety, but still feeling like the victim. This is giving, I think rules don't apply to me. She says, I didn't know the rule until I was on the second flight. First flight, no problemo. Which, that's so annoying when people are like, I didn't have an issue before. Which, I can understand, like, if you're allowed to do something before and then it was fine, but the second time you try to do it, there's an issue. Yes, that could be frustrating, but it's like, okay, well, they're just telling you you cannot do it just because you weren't told before. Who knows? The flight attendant on the first flight probably didn't see you having 2 children in your lap. If you're told it's a safety issue, I feel like you should be able to abide by that because they're actually trying to make sure I'm safe, my family's safe, the whole plane is safe. You're traveling with 8 adults. Why couldn't one of them help? Why couldn't your husband be a dad and take one of the kids? She says he is a great dad. Upset kids want mom, period. Which I get, but it's like at that point, the priority has shifted to feeding your 8-month-old baby. Even though your 1-year-old is screaming, you really need to feed your baby at that point. Moms are amazing. Moms do everything. But at that point, you can't worry about keeping the peace for everyone else on the plane. Your priority is feeding your child. Girl, no, I listened to your whole story. If there's decompression and those masks come down, you are literally putting your kids at risk with not having access to oxygen for everyone. That flight attendant was keeping your safety. It's literally a federal law. If you can't handle traveling with your 3 small kids, following the rules, don't fly. And her energy responding in these comments are so sassy. Backtrack, and they were not 2 infants. One was a toddler, so obviously needed a seat. At this point, just stop. She says, backtrack, my 3-year-old needs a seat, which we had. Thank you. Anyone under 2 is a lap. I had 1-year-old and 8-month-old. Okay, that makes sense. You know, maybe your 1-year-old didn't have to have their own seat, but at that point, there's really no excuse if you had 7 other adults that are in your party on your flight. But there are some positive comments. They are very few and far between, but one said, I agree, it shouldn't allow you to add if it's not allowed. Sheesh, so frustrating. This comment is so funny. It says, what child would you choose to not have an oxygen mask during a decompression? Because that's what you would have to decide. That is so dark, but so true. I shouldn't be laughing at that. But I told you guys, my humor is broken. A flight attendant is not a customer service worker. They're there to keep you safe, and sometimes that's not going to be in a way that makes you happy. Sierra says, true, but we had both aisle seats, and my son wasn't even allowed to stand in the aisle next to me. Yeah, he can't stand and block the aisle. Your son can't just stand in the aisle next to you. I have to question too, at that point, could the 1-year-old son that had the ear infection and was screaming, could they have gone to another adult in the party if they were in a different row, like get out of mom's eyesight? And if the child can see the mom and see the mom breastfeeding but not be with the mom, I feel like that could make it worse, right? I don't know. Anyways, you guys, that is it for today's video. I did want to share that it does look like her views have started to trend down. She's someone that has over 700,000 followers, and it looks like her most recent videos are just 3,000 or so. They're below 10,000. So if anything, I think that just teaches you that whoever you are as a person, it's definitely going to reflect in the content that you create. And I'm new to this kind of stuff. I just kind of have fun on here. I feel like people who mean well and people who don't mean well have platforms. And even though there's a lot of people who go viral or have large platforms, they may not be the best person to look up to with all kinds of people on social media, especially starting at a young age. I think this just goes to show you that your character will reflect in your videos sooner than later. Like, you can only put up some sort of performative thing for so long, or you can only put up some sort of barrier for so long. If your content is just lifestyle, this is what I do, this is what I'm wearing today, but at some point, the more vulnerable you get, the more you share your story times, I feel like that could also put people against you or ruin your success. Because if you are someone that's not very nice in real life, people can tell. And I'm not saying, hey, if you're nice, you're gonna go viral. Or if you're mean, you're gonna go viral. I don't think that's always the goal. My goal was really just to create a community because I really like talking with you guys. But that's what my takeaway from this overall. Okay, here are my takeaways. You let me know what you think. When you're a parent, you got to think about so many things. Emergencies, I'm hungry every 2 seconds, especially if you're flying. You got to pay for so many things, thinking about, oh, are we going to check the car seat? Are we going to bring a travel stroller? How am I going to feed my children? How am I going to make sure that my kids are entertained during this flight? Can I schedule nap times in? Blah, blah, blah. Number 2, bring back shame. I'm just kidding. But honestly too, number 2, I feel like people still need to get humbled. I'm even saying that for me too. Sometimes we just need to not post everything, every initial thought. Sometimes we just need to read a room or reevaluate what we filmed before posting. This is honestly the first time that I have seen someone's views go down after some sort of viral thing, scandal, annoying thing has happened. But I hope her 1-year-old child's ear infection has gotten better. I guess that was 2 years ago, but yeah, I hope her kids are doing well. That's all I have to say about this. What do y'all think about this whole situation? Do you feel like Sierra was in the wrong? Do you feel like the flight attendant was in the wrong? Do you feel like they should have given her a little bit more empathy? What do you think was a better way to handle this situation? Should she have given her baby to another adult in her party? Should she have bought her 1-year-old a seat? And again, you don't have to agree with me. I always like to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe. If you don't, I just appreciate you being here, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye!